Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. I am so incredibly excited to get into our topic for today. We are taking a really deep, fascinating look into the absolutely hilarious, wonderfully chaotic world of the Kelce family. Now, we all know them, right? We know them for the massive Super Bowl rings, the sold-out stadiums, the constant media coverage, but today we are actually mapping out a completely different journey. We're looking at this incredible transition from what I can only describe as untamed, wild family chaos to a genuinely brilliant, profound statement on generational wealth and legacy. Seriously, it's such a wild ride. We are going to look at how two brothers, who, as you're going to see, used to literally destroy their childhood home on a regular basis, have evolved into these fiercely devoted fathers and uncles. And we'll see how a wedding that quite literally captured the entire world's attention actually serves as a complete masterclass in long-term family planning. We have so much incredible ground to cover today, from literal toddler tantrums to blue chip stocks, and I am so here for it. Okay, let's dive into this. To really understand this family dynamic today, we first have to take a look at Jason Kelce's profoundly shifting worldview. Specifically, his perspective as a girl dad. Jason has openly admitted that growing up, his whole world was just him and his brother Travis. Just boys being boys. He simply wasn't around tiny women at all outside of, maybe elementary school, where, as he joked, they all just had cooties. But flash forward to today, and his entire world revolves around his incredibly energetic, amazing daughters. And what is just so completely fascinating to listen to is his utter fascination with the toddler phase. It's like he's studying a new species. Take his 3-year-old daughter, Benny, for example. Jason describes her current age as being right in that magical fleeting window. You know, the one where she's just old enough to really start articulating what is actually going on in her head, but she's still young enough that absolutely everything in the world is still kind of amazing and new. He loves that as a parent, you get to step out of your boring adult routine, stop taking all those mundane daily things for granted, and literally re-experience the world through the fresh eyes of a tiny human who is doing everything for the very first time. But of course, as any parent watching knows, a tiny human with a developing brain also brings an immense, almost staggering amount of unpredictable, hilarious chaos. Jason explains that Benny is currently ebbing and flowing through this completely wild stage. One minute she acts like a sassy stand-up comedian, just holding court, making everyone in the room laugh, convinced she's the absolute funniest person on the planet. But then, literally the very next minute, she is furiously, unconditionally angry that people are actually laughing at her. It makes no sense, but it makes total sense. She is deeply struggling with the whole concept of sharing, and honestly, there's just no telling what the breaking point will be on any given day. The unpredictability is totally wild, but Jason, he is fully 100% bought in.
Part 1. Life as a girl dad and the Kelce parenting style.
Now, what is so incredibly refreshing about the Kelce household is how they handle all this relatable madness of parenting young kids. They approach it with so much empathy, super direct communication, and a really healthy dose of humor. But let's be real, toddlers aren't the only source of chaos in their home, which brings us to one of the absolute funniest ongoing debates between Jason, his wife Kylie, and Travis. It's the great pest control issue. You see, Kylie desperately wants to get a family cat, but Jason has been notoriously, stubbornly holding out, creating this hilarious, never-ending standoff between them. As they've discussed in their amazing podcast banter, Jason knows exactly when Kylie is ready to just march down to the animal shelter. If he is away at work, or maybe he's on a trip, and he gets a random text from Kylie out of nowhere saying, "I'm going to get a cat," he instantly makes the connection. He knows exactly what just happened at home. Kylie saw mouse droppings. Just the sight of a mouse is a massive, immediate trigger for Kylie. She has been very clear that she considers herself an animal person. She'll gladly scoop up spiders in the house and safely take them outside without a second thought. No big deal. But she absolutely draws the line at mice. She cannot stand the way they scurry. She can't deal with them at all. And while she insists a cat is the most obvious logical solution to this problem, Jason remains fiercely, stubbornly resistant to the whole idea. So in this ongoing debate, Kylie points out that she is willing to compromise, right? She says she'd even settle for getting a quote-unquote barn cat from the SPCA. Essentially, this wouldn't be a cuddly pet, but an indoor-outdoor employee whose sole job description is to eradicate pests. Honestly, pretty logical. But Jason's response? He argues that if they really want to eradicate mice, they literally already hire an exterminator for that. Plus, he grew up with a cat, and he remembers seeing plenty of mice anyway, so he's not buying the cat as pest control logic. He notes that if they ever do get a cat, he doesn't just want some cuddly little friend, he wants a stone-cold killer. He wants an absolute professional. But here's where the conversation takes a hilarious, completely unhinged left turn. While Jason and Kylie are seriously debating exterminators versus barn cats, Travis just chimes in with a brand new obsession: donkeys. Yes, donkeys. Travis recently discovered that donkeys are incredibly territorial animals, and they actually act as natural guardians of the land to protect property from predators. So now, Travis is entirely derailed from the whole cat debate, excitedly proclaiming that one day he is going to get a donkey. And, wait for it, maybe he'll get a second one, just so the first one doesn't get lonely. It is just so funny, and it perfectly captures the hilarious, constantly branching, slightly chaotic dynamic of these Kelce family debates.
So, the core reason Travis is so intensely pro-cat in this debate, and honestly why Jason has such impossibly high standards for any future pet, all goes back to the legendary backstory of their childhood cat, Flash. According to both brothers, Flash wasn't just a pet. She was the absolute, unquestionable pinnacle of what a cat could be. Travis remembers her as this deep-seated homie, a cat who would just snuggle up right next to you inside the house, totally sweet. But outside, Flash was an absolute assassin. They lovingly recall how she would go out into the neighborhood on patrol and literally bring dead birds back into Jason's room, leaving them on the floor as little offerings for him, which is gross, but also kind of sweet in a very primal way. Furthermore, they talk about Flash as if she were a literal mafia boss holding middle-of-the-night fight clubs in the neighborhood alleys. She was out there routinely beating up all the other neighborhood cats to establish dominance. To them, Flash was the ultimate protector and the ultimate companion all rolled into one. And Jason firmly feels that you simply cannot replace a top-shelf pet like that, which completely explains his hesitance to just easily invite some new unproven cat into his home.
Let's move to and see how this builds. Part 2. Classic Kelce childhood antics. Because before these men were millionaires, they were neighborhood terrors. Seriously, before these men were beloved public figures, they were absolute forces of destruction. The sheer level of property damage these two unsupervised boys unleashed on their childhood homes is honestly a testament to the fact that their parents, Ed and Donna, deserve some kind of international medal for patience. If we walk through this timeline of property damage, it actually starts outside the house. Travis notoriously drove a car directly through their very first garage door in North Ridgeville when he was young, just straight through it. But it definitely didn't stop there. When they moved to their Cleveland Heights house, the boys treated their garage doors not as, an entryway for vehicles, but as a full-scale multi-sport complex. They didn't just throw one type of ball at it, they had tennis rackets out there and were trying to blast tennis balls as hard as they could, channeling pure Pete Sampras energy. They took heavy street hockey pucks and balls, footballs, and basketballs, and just continuously, relentlessly launched them at the doors. The result? The garage was completely covered in massive dents, the windows were totally shattered from rogue hockey shots, and there were literally physical imprints of basketballs permanently stamped right into the walls. It was a disaster zone. But as destructive as the outside was, it was actually the inside of the house that saw the real, unbelievable chaos. Which brings us to Jason's totally infamous middle school cover-up. Okay, I want you to really picture this scene. Jason is in the 8th grade, and he is home alone. His dad had just bought him a brand new, beautiful wooden baseball bat. Naturally, as an 8th grade boy, Jason wants to feel the sweet spot of the bat immediately, so he decides it's a great idea to hit a baseball over a small indoor net right there in the house. Well, he grazes the top of the net, and the ball goes rocketing straight past it directly into his dad's office window, completely shattering it into a million pieces. Now, instead of calling his parents in a panic and confessing like most kids might, Jason engages in a hilarious, highly calculated 4-step cover-up. First, his brilliant logic is what dad doesn't know won't hurt him, so he carefully sweeps up only the really large pieces of broken glass, leaving the tiny, dangerous shards scattered everywhere. Second, he simply closes the outer storm window behind the broken pane to make it look somewhat intact from a distance. Third, he goes straight to the living room, sits on the couch, and casually plays video games as if nothing in the world has happened. And fourth, he completely denies everything. In fact, his cover-up was so good that it took his dad a month or two before he finally went behind his desk to mess with some computer plugs, stepped barefoot in the shattered glass, and realized what had actually happened. When his dad angrily came out of the office demanding to know which of you idiots broke the window, Jason just sat there on the couch, controller still in his hand, feigning complete and utter ignorance. It's just so funny.
But listen, the window cover-up honestly pales in comparison to the ultimate act of property damage. The boys were, once again, left totally unsupervised while their parents ran a quick, maybe 20-minute errand to the store, and almost instantly they started roughhousing, which, as siblings do, rapidly escalated into a full-blown heavyweight wrestling match, right in the living room. At the absolute climax of this match, Jason actually suplexed Travis. He lifted him up and launched him directly into the living room couch. The force of this throw was so immense that Travis
Travis actually felt himself crash through the couch cushions, tear right through the bottom of the sofa, and physically break straight through the wooden living room floorboards. Can you even imagine? The two boys were left standing there staring in sheer, utter panic at a hole in their floor so enormous that you could literally fit 2 tennis shoes inside it. Knowing they were in massive, world-ending trouble, they quickly shoved the couch over that shoe-sized crater and looked at each other, mutually agreeing on the spot that they had to take this secret to the grave. Nobody could ever know. And the craziest part is, it worked for a while. It wasn't until their parents were doing a deep spring cleaning, aggressively vacuuming and moving heavy furniture much later, that the massive hole was finally uncovered.
Part 3. Uncle Travis takes charge. Let's see how we go from chaos to caring. But you know, time passes, people grow up, and the incredibly chaotic kids of yesterday are the fiercely protective family leaders of today. It is deeply ironic and honestly just wonderful that Travis, who openly admits he used to forge his parents' signatures on his own bad report cards so he wouldn't get in trouble, is now the fiercely beloved, dependable Uncle Trav to Jason and Kylie's 4 highly energetic girls. He's totally evolved from the knucklehead who avoided consequences into a fiercely loyal, incredible family man. So, exactly why are his nieces so utterly obsessed with him? Kylie points out that Travis is the absolute best uncle in the world because he fundamentally understands that presence matters infinitely more than presence. Sure, he is incredibly wealthy. He could easily walk through the door with massive bags of candy and ridiculous luxury toys. But what the girls actually talk about for weeks after his visits is the quality time he gives them. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how they demand what Travis hilariously calls maximum airtime. They want to pretend to be airplanes and be thrown up in the air in total anti-gravity for literally 7 hours straight, and Travis willingly puts his shoulders to the test, giving them his completely undivided, focused attention. He instantly gets down on the floor to play Barbies, effectively transforming into a giant bearded toddler himself just to match their wild, unending energy. For Kylie, it's a massive relief. She can stand back, maintain the boundaries, and ensure everyone is safe, while Travis gets to just let loose, adding to the joyous madness of the house. However, even the great, energetic Uncle Trav has his absolute limits, and the comedy of his self-imposed babysitting boundaries is just hilarious. When Jason and Kylie asked him, hypothetically, how long he could comfortably babysit the girls by himself, Travis had to draw a very firm line in the sand. He stated that if he only had to watch the older kids, maybe 1 to 3 of them, he could totally manage it. He'd have it under control. But if they left him completely alone with all 4 children at their current chaotic, unpredictable ages, Travis flat out admitted he would ditch them. He joked that by the time Jason and Kylie did the knock and drop off at his front door and started driving away, Travis would already be in a full sprint out the back door. He said Jason would return from date night to find all 4 girls just sitting patiently waiting on the front stoop while Uncle Trav had completely escaped into the night. He knows his limits, folks, and solo managing 4 Kelce girls all at once is currently a bridge way too far for him.
But despite his totally valid fear of babysitting 4 toddlers at once, Travis has evolved into a massive global superstar who handles the brightest spotlights in the world with incredible ease. We've all seen him go wildly viral for aggressively, joyously chanting the Beastie Boys' "Fight for Your Right" at the top of his lungs after winning the Super Bowl. But I want you to contrast that boisterous, aggressive football energy with his surprise appearance as a backup dancer on the stage of the monumental Eras Tour. Travis admitted that despite playing football in front of full, screaming, intimidating NFL stadiums his whole career, standing on that pop music tour stage, looking out at the dark, seemingly endless sea of fans, made him feel as small as a tiny ant. He was literally repeating a terrified mantra of, "Don't drop her," in his head the entire time. And yet, switch contexts again, when he visited the White House, all that stage anxiety completely vanished. When President Biden stepped away from the podium for a second, leaving it open, Travis confidently slid right in, dropping a perfectly timed, incredibly smooth "My fellow Americans" to the White House press corps before being gently ushered away by security. He knows exactly how to navigate the massive, completely surreal stage his life has become.
Part 4. Let's shift gears here and talk about the wedding of the decade. Because all of this family history, all of this chaotic, beautiful love recently culminated in the absolute emotional peak of our story, the beautiful, highly anticipated wedding of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Now, this wasn't just a massive merging of global music royalty and football greatness. It was a really profound, intimate celebration of 2 incredibly close-knit families who clearly value loyalty, laughter, and grounded traditions way over pure celebrity spectacle. And at the very heart of this elegant ceremony was the Flower Girl Squad.
The scene down the wedding aisle was an absolute heart-melting picture of the Kelce girls' distinct, vibrant personalities. First, you had the oldest, Wyatt, leading the way down the aisle with remarkable, quiet, confident composure. Just a total pro. Right behind her was Ellie, who was offering these adorable, shy little waves to all the famous guests, while constantly whispering questions to anyone who would listen about when they were finally going to get to eat cake. Then there was Benny, the unpredictable stand-up comedian we talked about earlier, who was scattering her flower petals with wild, enthusiastic, almost aggressive abandon all over the floor. And finally, baby Finley, just drawing delighted smiles from the crowd and soaking the entire majestic scene in. From his post at the altar, standing proudly as his brother's best man, Jason Kelce watched this entire procession unfold with tears in his eyes. His expression constantly shifted between overwhelming deep pride and a playful, watchful concern for his girls, proving that even on a day of massive global magnitude, he is just a girl dad through and through.
When it finally came time for the reception, Jason delivered a best man speech that perfectly balanced the family's trademark boisterous humor with deep, profound emotion. But of course, in true Kelce fashion, actually getting that speech written and done was an adventure in itself. Travis fondly noted that Jason procrastinated like a true Kelce, literally waiting until the absolute night before the wedding to sit down and write it. As they discussed, it's that classic ADHD trait. When the pressure is completely on and you've waited until the absolute final possible moment to do something, your brain finally clicks and says, "Okay, I'm ready to work," and a massive wave of creative focus just hits you. Jason didn't drag it out into some hour-long rambling monologue. He kept it tight, he kept it incredibly funny, and he made it incredibly touching. He made sure to praise his new sister-in-law's remarkable kindness and genuine politeness, and he reflected on just how lucky Travis was to find her.
And you know, that remarkable kindness that Jason spoke of in his speech was on full display behind closed doors, away from the cameras. Taylor Swift isn't just a 14-time Grammy winner selling out stadiums. To this family, she is simply Aunt Taylor. She is deeply, incredibly attentive. She makes a point to remember the specific interests of each individual niece and genuinely engages with them on their level, rather than just politely nodding along. To reward the girls for their amazing work as the Flower Squad, Aunt Taylor provided an array of deeply thoughtful gifts. She gave them gorgeous designer dresses that were perfectly tailored to their budding, individual personalities. She provided age-appropriate, really cool luxury toys meant to spark their creativity. She included deeply personal handwritten notes tucked into beautiful keepsake boxes for them to treasure as they grow older. But it was the absolute final item on her gift list, entire portfolios of blue-chip stocks, that truly stunned everyone with its incredible foresight and deep practicality.
So the crucial point is not just what she gave the girls, but how she went about giving it. Aunt Taylor didn't just hand over financial documents to toddlers. She specifically registered these substantial blue-chip stock portfolios in Kylie Kelce's name for safekeeping. This specific act demonstrated a profound, deep respect for the parents' oversight. She didn't want to overstep her bounds as the new aunt. Instead, she partnered directly with Kylie. By putting the assets in Kylie's name, she ensured that the parents maintain total, absolute control and oversight until the children are actually old enough and mature enough to manage the wealth themselves. It really proved that Taylor deeply understands and fiercely respects Kylie's grounded values of humility, hard work, and keeping things as normal as possible for the kids.
Part 5. Building Generational Family Wealth. This is where it all comes together. Because what seems on the surface like just a fun, glamorous celebrity wedding story actually offers a literal masterclass in long-term legacy planning. We are moving from the chaotic stories of boys breaking windows and smashing through floors to adults purposefully, intentionally building an unshakable financial foundation for the next generation. Let's spend some time really unpacking exactly what this means. Aunt Taylor gifted the girls blue chip stocks. Now, if you aren't familiar, blue chip stocks are shares in massive, well-established, and highly financially stable companies that have a recognized, proven history of reliable performance over decades. Think of the biggest, most resilient household name companies in the world. They aren't highly volatile, risky bets, and they aren't meant to make you a millionaire overnight. They are specifically, carefully selected for steady, long-term growth and extreme resilience against market downturns. By choosing blue chip stocks instead of buying them incredibly flashy, depreciating assets like, extremely expensive jewelry or luxury cars that can't even drive yet, Taylor and Travis signaled a profound desire for genuine stability over fleeting spectacle. They are providing a rock-solid, incredibly valuable financial security blanket that will quietly grow in the background while the girls go to school, play sports, and just get to grow up as normal kids.
And this brilliantly illustrates a point brought up by financial experts who were actually analyzing this very move. As one expert noted, legacy isn't just about money, it's about impact. For anyone out there, and especially women who are spending decades carefully thinking about retirement accounts, setting up 529 college funds, and meticulously managing their own family's financial legacy, this move resonates on a deeply practical and incredibly reassuring level. It shows that caring about someone's future doesn't mean buying the biggest, flashiest, headline-grabbing gift today. It means providing the quiet, steady, reliable resources that will completely empower them decades from now when they are actually ready to step out into the world on their own. It's about giving them options and stability.
What we're ultimately looking at here is a thoroughly modern love story that is deeply, unexpectedly rooted in very traditional values. Despite their immense, literally record-breaking global fame, the late-night conversations between Travis and Taylor aren't just about their soaring careers or their next red carpets or brand deals. According to insiders, those intimate conversations are rooted in shared long-term goals, in quiet philanthropy, and in a fierce, unwavering dedication to family unity. They talk about building a completely holistic life together, one that ensures the younger family members have every possible opportunity to succeed and feel loved. It is incredibly reassuring and honestly just beautiful to see a high-profile, mega-famous couple purposefully reject the flashy, fleeting aspects of fame to instead warmly embrace intentional generosity and careful long-term planning. Jason Kelce perfectly, absolutely perfectly summarized the emotional weight of this entire journey we've been talking about, reflecting on the spectacular celebration of the wedding and the beautiful, seamless blending of their two worlds. He simply said, "The wedding was one day, but the family, it's forever." Let me say that again. The wedding was one day, but the family, it's forever. Those words beautifully encapsulate absolutely everything we've explored today. This is a family that survived smashed garage windows, shattered living room floors, and hilariously chaotic, unpredictable toddler phases. They have constantly leaned into empathy, they have laughed at the utter madness of life, and they have stayed fiercely, unconditionally loyal to one another through it all. And now, as mature adults, they are using their massive success not to build walls or isolate themselves, but to plant incredible seeds for the future, ensuring that the foundation of their family is vastly stronger than it has ever been. Which leaves us with a final, really important thought to ponder as we wrap up today. As we look at how the Kelces successfully transformed their wild, destructive childhood energy into a lasting legacy of stability and deep familial devotion, ask yourself, if you had to define your own family's legacy today, right now, would it be built on fleeting moments or on the seeds planted for the future? Because whether it's through the quiet patience of raising a sassy, hilarious toddler, the pure empathy of laughing off a broken window with your sibling, or the incredibly careful, intentional financial planning for the next generation, legacy is built every single day in the small and large choices we make for the people we love. Thank you so much for joining me and exploring this incredible topic today in this explainer. I really love diving into this with you. Until next time, take care of yourselves and keep planting those seeds.